Recording has started.
Oh. Hello, this is Mike Linner from the Let's Roll podcast, powered by CarsShowNationals.com, which I didn't say yesterday in the interview we did. We're with Jeff Thisted, Hot Rod Power Tour. I also didn't say that. Good guys. And he also has worked with the guest we're going to have on today, Tim Strange. How you doing, Tim?
Good. How you guys doing?
You
Good.
can't just, come on, Mike, you can't just say Tim Strange. Tim is a member of the Hot Rod Hall of Fame. He's one of the hosts of the Good Guys Autocross series. Yeah, member of the Hot Rod Hall of Fame. I mean, pretty much say no more. Leave it right there. And
Yeah, I didn't say custom car builder or anything like that. So, yeah, I always mess up my intros, and Jeff's always got to clean it up.
I was thinking about you the other day because the Colorado Stock Show just got done, and someone sold, it was on the news, they sold their prize-winning pig for X amount. It's like, oh, I know someone who had a prize-winning pig, and you tell this story if you would. I love this story.
Well, I wouldn't say it was prize winning. Mine were more like pets and kind of like dogs. They just kind of follow me around the show ring.
You sold the pig for your first car.
Well, that's the thing. You get attached to these animals, and in the pig show world at the 4-H fairs, you have to sell them. You can't take them home because of diseases and stuff. You can't be around other pigs and take them back to your farm. You might get, diseases brought back. So when you show your pig, I don't know. I'm not showing pigs anymore, so I don't know if that's still a thing. But I know they still show them, but I don't know if they have to sell them. But and you sell them. When I was 8 years old, I took $100 of that and bought my first real car when I was 8 years old for my great-great-grandpa. I bought a 55 Chevy 150 baby blue and white, rusty, basically stuck in the corn crib. And my first car I bought by selling my 4-H show pig.
See, now you're
Nice.
discounting it. Oh, it was rusty. Poo. My first car was a VW Bug, a 71 VW Super Beetle. Your first car is a 55 Chevy, and that's what I currently have. But yeah, that was your first car. So what do you have to look forward to?
Yeah, we drove it around the barnyard because we lived in the country, so nobody cared if you had a driver's license and stuff. But I ended up selling that thing when I realized it was too rusty for me to actually fix everything to be my first driver when I was in high school and got my driver's license. So sold it to a couple guys around, it bounced around, and then a guy, a local hot rodder, he actually built it as a Pro Street car. It ended up being white with blue flames and was featured in Super Chevy magazine after he built it. So the car had a cool story at the end.
Is that car still around? Do you still know the whereabouts of it?
I do not know. Steve Blender was the guy. I still know the guy. I know his son that built it. Local rod run scene like my dad was. I have not known where the car was. Oh man, for probably 25 years now. I don't know where it ended up.
Okay. Well, so speaking of your dad, tell us or tell the viewers at home a little bit about your dad, how you got infected into the hot rod, into the car scene, because your dad had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, of course. It's easy for people to be a hot rod person when their parents or relatives are hot rod people. So my dad built show choppers and did some indoor car shows and stuff like that and chopper runs and stuff when I was little. And I still remember me and my sister and my mom, all four of us riding on his custom chopper around the country mile block. I'd hold onto the gas cap. My sister was wedged in between mom and dad. And then when we got too big to do that, he sold most of those motorcycles and got a 57 Chevy. So he built
Not
that.
motorcycles, choppers.
Yeah, show choppers. Custom paint and stretched front ends and big
Nice.
chopper stuff.
Okay, so we
And,
got rid of the choppers, and then tell them about this 57, because it's not your normal 57.
Yeah, it was, it was before they had barn finds. This was a field find. It was out in the field, and it had big rust holes in it, and he fixed it. He got it for like $150, if I remember right. Fixed it all up himself. We were farmers, so we knew how to weld and paint and just did it all ourselves. Had a straight axle, so it was kind of like a gasser style tilt front end, tunnel ram, dual velocity stacks, 4-bucket seats, diamond tucked interior, chain steering wheel, shag carpet on the dash and the rear deck. It was bright red. About 78, 79, he probably got it done round in there. I don't know exactly what year I was, but he brought it to school for show and tell and started it up for the kids. And, he didn't let me start it or rev it up, but I got to reach in and shut it off. As like an 8, 9-year-old, man, everybody thought that was pretty cool. So Yeah, Dad brought his gas or 57 Chevy to show and tell at school.
Well, and like you said, and thanks for answering that before I even had to ask what year was it, because nowadays you can, if I've got my iPhone and a credit card, I can buy a fiberglass one-piece front end. Back then, they weren't that easy to come by. All that stuff wasn't easy to come by. He had to completely fabricate and build this thing. I mean, super badass.
Yeah, and he actually didn't do one. He couldn't afford the fiberglass front end, so he bolted together. I remember helping hold the spacers to make it look like it was, a proper hood defender gap, and it was a metal tilt front end. And then he did a 55 Chevy 6 years after that. It was the same type of thing, and it was a hydraulic tilt. You hit the button, and it tilted up hydraulically.
Nice.
No way. Now, I've seen pictures of it. Do you have, for those of you at home who want to follow Tim, he's Rod Builder on Instagram, and then if you go on, his website is strangemotion.com. Don't ask him to build you a free car. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I actually had an email this morning about that. Yeah, I did. So.
Did you already?
Yeah.
All right, tell the story if you would.
Well, I did Search and Restore TV show for 2 years. We had 32 episodes on Spike TV, and it's on Amazon Prime now. You can watch it on rerun. And people that didn't see it, if they didn't have Spike, because it's been 8 years since I did this show, and we did cars. It was like an overhauling with a little bit more story of the family. Like we did a car for a guy that dated his wife in a Nova, and she got cancer while she was pregnant. The kid lived, she passed away. Some of these shows you see me crying, and we sent kids to Disney World, and it was always corporate sponsors like Loctite sponsored that build and sent the kids to Disneyland, and started a college foundation for them and all that. Well, we picked these people and we did the cars for them and got all the sponsors, so it didn't cost them anything. So I still get emails all the time. I guess I'm glad that people still watch the show and think it's cool, but I still get emails. People think we're still doing the show, and can I get my car done for free? So wow. I have a few Facebook pages. I have my normal page, the shop page, and then I have like a public figure Tim Strange page, and that seems to be the one that the people that only know me from watching the TV show find, and they'll still message me. So my wife has put an automated response when they first email us, say, thank you for contacting us. If you know us from the show, we're not doing that anymore, and we're not doing cars for free. And so I guess, yeah, that's the other side of the TV world that a lot of people didn't warn you about, and that when you run a small shop, people just want to stop by and talk to you, and I'll talk hot rods all day long. So my current shop, which I pretty much had to move after the TV show, has no sign on the building. The building looks like crap from the outside. The guys at the welding store call it the Bat Cave because they can't believe the stuff that I do in that crappy looking building from the outside. It's an old dealership. It's locked. If somebody knocks on the door, if I hear them knock, it's long and skinny. I usually don't hear them knock. I don't even let them in. If they don't have an appointment, tool guys, salesmen, delivery people don't even come into my building. I just lock the door and build hot rods during the day. And usually during the night too. So
yeah, I remember it was years ago. We were driving to Ed's place for the year-end Good Guys party, and Carrie told me about that. It's like people still contact us, and that was like when it was only 5 years old. Now it's 8 years, and you got an email this morning about, will you build me a free car?
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't that. This guy was really polite. I got this car and it's rusting, and I do that. And, he was from California. I was like, well, if you're looking for a builder, I says, go to the Roadster show this weekend, and there'll be lots of builders there. Oh, I wouldn't even know how to talk to somebody. And then finally, 5 emails later, and he goes, well, I don't have the money to build a car. I'm just trying to get it done on the show. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is where we're at.
Yeah. That's where they're always at, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I met you, I don't know how many, not 10 years ago, but it was on the Hot Rod Power Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've done Power Tour for, 27th year for Power Tour now, maybe? 26?
Wow. 26 years, yeah, something like that. I got to look that up.
And I've done a lot. The first 5 years, I probably didn't do any of it, but a lot of those years, I bet there's probably 18 years I've probably done at least 2 or 3 stops, and I've done the full tour a few times. And so they never hired me to be the stage guy with Jeff.
That's right. You're the builder, but you did tell me about the Royal Purple panel truck.
Yeah, we get to do some corporate projects every once in a while. We've done, through the years, we've done 12 or 13 corporate cars for the SEMA show, where Chevy or Ford give us a brand new vehicle and we build it and debuted at the SEMA show. And then we also do promo vehicles sometimes for corporate. And we did for Royal Purple Oil, which we do a lot of stuff with them. We built a 63 Chevy panel truck for them. It's a vehicle they had built years ago and then been messed with and started and stopped. And so we got it. It was flat black. We stripped it all down to bare metal, stripped everything off of it.
And
all
by we, you mean you.
Well, I got a couple of part-time guys. So, if I'm pulling a body or fitting a chassis, my buddy Scuba Steve will come and help me. He actually worked at the TV studio too, kind of behind the scenes. So he'll come and help me quite often. And my buddy Gerald and his son will come sometimes. So we put all new Fat Man chassis, Lingenfelder LS, all Holley injection, Willwood brakes, and just build it as a really cool driver. I mean, it looks really nice, but it's not an over-the-top detailed showpiece. Big kicker stereo in it. And we put almost 20,000 miles on it now.
And that's over how many years?
When we built it, it was a 5-year deal to build it and then show it for them. So this spring is actually the 5 years is up. We've got a few more things we're going to do with them. And then we decide if we're going to rebuild it or they're going to cut it loose. We might build another project. Actually, I'm pitching them building a really cool all-purple 55 Chevy that I'd really like to build them a Tri-5 as a promo vehicle. So I don't know if we're going to do that or not yet.
Because I know the panel truck, I don't think it has air conditioning. Is that right?
It does, but I think when I was on the power tour, I didn't have all the airlines ran yet, but it does have, it's got vintage air in it. So that does.
Oh, okay. Because I remember I thought Kerry was complaining about something, but you've had your nephew riding shotgun a bunch in that thing?
No, one of our BMX, two of the times I've done the power tour, we sponsor BMX team as our stress relief, and me and my wife both still race. And I've taken a BMX kid, and usually his mom, one of the moms or something, has worked in registration with Carrie because Carrie runs, she's a registration manager for Power Tour. So I get in early and all that. I get some, special benefits from her working her butt off, and it's hell week for her, and it's kind of a fun hot rod week for me. So.
Kind of a fun. In my opinion, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I love it with all my heart. They're my people. But a personal story, Tim and I worked together on the Good Guys at the autocross at the Scottsdale show and the Columbus show. And our handler, our boss is John Borcher.
He's our handler, right? Yeah, if you like that, being called our handler.
You know what I mean? He's John. He's the king of the road. John's daughter, Sydney, works with us a lot. And Sydney is a hard worker. She's wonderful. And Carrie brought her on. Hey, you want to work on the Power Tour? And Sydney's like, yeah. And Sydney hated every second of it.
It's so much work for the staff. It is ridiculous how much work they put in.
And it was a bunch of years ago as well. We had you up on stage at the Power Tour. And right before you got off, it's like, hey, buddy, is there anything else you want to say? Yes, as a matter of fact. To all you people out there, you know the spiky-haired lady? And that's why I called her the spiky-haired lady, Mike. So you guys know the spiky-haired lady at registration? Everybody nods, yeah? Well, be nice to her. Not only is she my wife, she's head of registration. You guys come in, and a lot of times people are nasty to her. So I have never forgotten that. Always be nice to not only the spiky-haired lady, but everybody at registration. They do the Power Tour. I mean, they do get paid for it, but it is a grind for them. No matter what they do, they can't do everything right. Why didn't you go here? How come people complain? So be nice to them.
It's ridiculous. That would be a reality show if they just put a camera up there. Usually you don't see my wife unless you've messed something up or you've got a question or you want a special pass or like that. It's like when she comes out, there's probably, it's not going smooth at that point. But most of the other ladies are either our friends, BMX moms, or my sister's there sometimes at some of these events.
Your father-in-law?
Huh?
Your father-in-law? Carrie's dad is there.
No, her mom's there some. Yeah. Her mom.
Okay.
Yeah. But seriously, they have to have police there because Carrie's been swung on. People have swung at her to hit her. They've jumped over the table. And it's just like, you can have 1,000 people and 998 of them are awesome, but there's just 2 people that you got to have a police officer for. They get escorted off the grounds, and it's just. I always say, I have sat. She also runs registration for all the Holley events, LS Fest, and the Mo Party and the Ford Fest.
Ultimate Streetcar, the electric thing.
Yeah, the
lot of these
electric car.
events.
She doesn't do a lot of the stuff at the Ultimate Street Car, but her company does run that. Adam runs a registration there. But I always say, like if you ever go on a job interview and they take you to a restaurant and they see how you treat the wait staff, the same way I have been in vendor check-in and seen some of these people, and some of these people will never get a penny from me or my clients that I build cars for because how rude they are to the staff while they're checking in. It is ridiculous. Right. Some very big companies will never get a penny from me because their employees, like a couple guys almost got fired when they realized that, oh, we know their boss. So yeah, so treat the people nice.
And you see that in car shows. You see that in car shows. I've run a car show, and people just I don't know why they get so rude, but you try to do everything and you work so hard, and then to get thrown under the bus or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot of work. I agree with that for sure.
So it's like out of 1,000 people, like 998 people are the most awesome people you ever met, but then there's those 2 people that just a thorn in your side.
Right.
And then it's almost to add insult to injury in this day of social media. It can be a good thing, but you've got these forums on the Facebook page, the Hot Rod Power Tour. And I saw one last week and I went off on the guy. Oh, well, they should have autocross at the Power Tour unless the staff drop the ball. It's like, let's be thankful we're having one at all this year. They canceled it a couple of years ago. Let's be thankful and not say drop the ball and then it's like, come on, guys, just be nice, be thankful.
Some venues don't allow autocross because it hurts the asphalt.
Yeah.
They don't want you to tear up the asphalt. And if that asphalt gets torn up, the group putting the event on has to pay to get it re-asphalted. There's some towns that don't want the Power Tour because they don't want the car people that have a bad rap from doing burnouts or something like that. Not everybody wants these events in their town. And that's what my wife, she's on conference calls in the other room right now. And that's what they have to go to the cities. And now, of course, in the world we live in, the health departments and get an okay and what we have to do. And when it got canceled that year, the only reason it got canceled was because of the state of Illinois. I'm from Illinois, and they had too many restrictions. All the other states welcomed the Power Tour, but it got canceled because that year they were going through Illinois, and there was 2 stops planned. And Illinois they replanned that Power Tour 2 more times, did the pre-runs, had the hotel blocks, all that stuff. And then Illinois said no, and that's why it got canceled that year that they didn't do it was fully because of Illinois.
And then not only from health concerns and not only asphalt from the autocross, but they've got to figure out which venues can hold 6,000 vehicles.
Yeah, and in and out smoothly, and yeah, it's ridiculous.
And not parking it, I got the platinum package and they're making me park in the grass. Like, guys, you don't have to come.
And they think it's funny that Facebook, while we're talking about that Facebook Hot Rod Power Tour page, is not ran by anybody. It's just some person started a page. It's not tied to anybody at Hot Rod, the Power Tour, the staff. Yeah, my wife's got on there and answer questions. She doesn't say, hey, I'm the lady that can say you can't come. And people have actually told her right on there, go blankety blank yourself. Like, just cuss her out. It's like, who are you? Well, the head registration
lady. I'm the spiky-haired lady at registration, you jerk.
Yeah.
So, can I ask what company she works for? Or?
FM3.
The company she works for is FM3 Marketing, and FM3 is an events promotion company. So Motor Trend hires them to run the events with a handful of people that's at Motor Trend. Same thing with Holly. And then they run the Optima Battery semis and the QA1 semis and staff that. Like he's not a kid anymore, that works the QA1 display is a guy that used to ride for our BMX team. So her company runs all that. They run the Ultimate Streetcar Series, the TV show on MAV, the Search for the Ultimate Streetcar Invitational at SEMA. They ran races for the first time at SEMA this year. They run the Drive Auto X Series. There's a couple other things in there that I know I'm forgetting that they do. So,
well, if they have flyers, tell them to send them to me. That's how I started. I started advertising car shows around the United States, and that led into podcasting because of Discovery and things change. But I still do all the advertising for free, and I have a website for it, carshownationals.com. So that's how we how I got to go to SEMA. I met Jeff. So this is how it's all worked out. But I do free advertising. I actually work with MAV TV also. They send me a lot of their press releases. So I just, yeah, full circle.
Yeah, I don't know if FM3 does flyers, but remind me
Yeah.
later, and I can get you their contact info. But they're
Yeah.
the grease that make the gears of the Power Tour, Optima, Holly, LS Fest West, all that stuff run.
Right.
Tell them about that. You went up to Sonoma. So Tim and Carrie have got what a relationship. I mean, they both ride BMX bikes. Tim not so much, but Carrie's nationally ranked.
Wow.
And if you're not working, you kind of get to come along as her handler. Because I know you went up to, and I was so jealous. You went to Petaluma to see the American Graffiti locations at the last Good Guys, and then with the electric car thing.
Yeah, right after SEMA, the very next week, she was running an event at Sonoma, the first all-electric Holly event. And we go to Santa Rosa and stayed at a buddy's, got a hot rod shop. My buddy Zane up there at Katati's shop, and just kind of stayed there. And then we go over to Petaluma, and I did American Graffiti Nerd and did all the little tourist stops. I've done it 3 or 4 times. And, you can stand in the parking lot where they rip the suspension out from underneath the car. You go to Freitas Road, which was Paradise Road in the movie, and I have a bag of dirt that my wife finally put in a container for me and put a sticker on it. I have dirt from the side of the road from Paradise Road. She's like, it's not the same dirt. I go, it's the same road. She's like, that's not the same dirt because all the construction. I go, it's still the idea. She'd do the same thing if we could go to every place where they filmed Grease or, her movies. So.
Yeah.
And so we kind of hung
that's
out.
One of her, Grease is one of her movies?
Yeah, that's probably her favorite movie.
Oh, I had no idea. I'll get her some dirt from Venice High School.
There you go. Oh, yeah. That would be awesome.
All right.
And so then they were running the all-electric event at Holly, so at Sonoma. So I went up there. I didn't stay for the event because I've always wanted to go to an event at Sonoma, like a drag race or when they used to run Indy cars. And I was there for setup to see the place and everything. But I didn't want to stay because I didn't want my first event at Sonoma to be an all-electric car event. I want to hear the rumble and the horsepower. And I don't want to.
Right.
It's not that I'm against it. I'll wait, I guess.
And a lot of our followers would agree with that, including Jeff. I know that. He likes the rumble.
But me and Jeff can speak firsthand from we run autocross Good Guys. Friday and Saturday, we're up to 1987 now. They have a 30-year rolling year break now, so we'll have newer cars on Friday and Saturday. And then Sundays, new cars are allowed, brand new off the lot cars. And up until the last 2 years, and I've been announcing for them for 8 or 9 years now, we have never had a Sunday new car, even a Hellcat or whatever, that has ran within a second and a half or 2 seconds as the fastest guy on Saturday. Right. Until this year and last year, we have some Teslas show up and cranked up the full power. And me and Jeff like to cue up like race car sounds and Formula One sounds and play, so it sounds like a race car out on the track. But also, these guys are very good drivers. It's not just the car; you got to be a very good driver. And like for instance, I think at Scottsdale last fall, the fastest time from the Leasinger boys was
28,
a 29-second lap.
Okay. I think it was 28 or 29. Go ahead.
Yeah. And, everybody else was 29s, 30s, 32 3s. And then on Sunday, you get these late model guys. Again, they probably don't drive as much as these guys. Some of these guys have professional drivers coaches or an unser that isn't just a driver's driver, And they never get close. But this year, that Tesla ran in the same second barrier as the fastest cars that probably have $500,000 in them the day before, and drive and like really put the effort into it. Yeah, those they are really impressive, those Teslas, when they crank.
Oh,
was it a Model
they
S?
Don't have any of the ethereal. They don't have any of that sound or that you can't feel them.
Was
but
it
when
the
they
Model
leave,
S
they leave
Plaid?
like a rocket ship. Wasn't a Plaid.
It wasn't. Oh,
I don't remember what the model was. I'm not that versed in my Tesla.
The
it was
Plaid's
the sedan,
the fastest.
but I know it wasn't a Plaid.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see that one. See what I could do. But that's their fastest.
One of my favorite autocrosses was Columbus a few years back. The guy with the Z06 comes strutting up with the chains and the shirt cut down to here, and then the kid and his girlfriend show up with the PT Cruiser. And by 2 seconds, the little PT Cruiser stock with sticky tires beat a 650 horsepower Z06.
Yeah, he was
You
also
gotta
a
love
very good
that.
driver. He used to drive a Mustang. So yeah, Mark Strong, I think is his name. Yeah, very good driver.
Right. It could be the driver too, you know.
Yeah.
And this just in, you posted yesterday that your dad has been eyeballing my wagon for a while, and now he's looking for a Tri-5 two-door.
Yeah, he's got
Saw
a
that.
Nomad and a couple hardtops and sedan Tri-5s, and he's got one that's just too much of a project for him right now, a 55 sedan that he's wanting to move, and he's looking for a driver two-door non-Nomad wagon. You know, everybody thinks a two-door wagon. Jeff gets this daily. I think, oh, nice Nomad. Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
not a Nomad. And he's not looking for a real fancy one because he's a farmer. He'll seriously be driving something and put a bag of feed or a bale of hay, or if he sees a calf hurt in the pasture in driving by the road, he might throw a baby calf in the car. So he doesn't want something real super nice, but something that's not a project that he can just hop in and drive. And actually, right 5 minutes before we went on here to record this, I was talking to my dad about a 57 two-door wagon that somebody sent me on Facebook. So.
Oh, nice. Any possibility there?
Yeah, maybe it's in Connecticut. I got to send somebody to maybe look at it and see how serious Dad is first. And you get tired of looking, so I just put it out on social media. And overnight, I woke up and I had like 30 messages from people sending me, "Here's one in our area. Here's one in our area." That's the cool thing about the power of social media. You can get out. Right. Same thing, selling parts or looking for parts, and you can really get out in front of a big audience real quick.
So now, how many cars does your dad have currently?
Well, he just sold his 31 Plymouth three-window coupe that was an original, still wooden wheels that his buddy passed away, had like a small town museum there in Woodhall, Illinois. And a buddy bought it. Dad sold it way cheap because he bought it cheap at the auction. He sold it to his buddy for exactly what he had in it. He's got a 31 Graham Page three-window coupe, which is a super rare car. It was pulled out of a barn, never been built yet. He's got a 2000 to 2002 black Corvette. He doesn't drive much. They say he's always still had Harleys, and now he's older and has had a couple heart surgeries, so he's got a Harley trike. And then he's got a 57 Bel Air two-door hardtop, 57 210 Post, the 55 Post that he's going to sell, and he's got a 56 Nomad that he's actually, our friend in Minnesota built that car originally, and it's been around so long that I actually took Carrie to both of her junior and senior proms in my dad in the Nomad.
That's so awesome.
And it's actually supposedly in the will that I get the Nomad for sure. So there's no questions that the Nomad will be mine someday.
Nice. Now, what about, I thought, isn't the 65? Didn't you build that for him?
Oh, yeah. We built it together. I did most all the labor, but he came down 4 different times and spent a week. Worked on the car off and on nights and weekends for the last 3 years. Yeah, we debuted it. Yeah, that's a 65 Chevelle, kind of mini tub, real 60s hot rod, a lot of chassis mods, narrow cross member Z frame, motor pushed back like a drag car 5 inches into the firewall. And so we kind of split parts and money on that. Of course, I did all the paint and body, but he came for assembly. The last time he came was he came for a week. And it was all blown apart. The chassis was painted. He finished assembling the rear end. We finished the brake lines. The exhaust was all built, but we put the exhaust on, bolted the motor and tranny together, put the exhaust on, did all the heat wrap. He finished assembling the rear end and the brake lines in the back. I finished the brake lines in the front. We put all that in the chassis, all the wheels and tires on it, the brake calipers, all that. We put the body on. We put the vintage air system and the American Auto Wire harness and everything that was already mocked up underneath the dash. You got to, build all that first. Basically build a car 4 times when you build one. Hung the doors, put the battery in it, a bunch of other stuff, the wiring harness, anything, the MSD boxes, everything like that. And we did that in 3.5 days, and then took it to my buddy that does my wiring and installs. So we had everything, and we basically just, me and Dad, for 3.5 days, we just threw parts at this thing, and it's like, wow, it's pretty cool. I told all my customers, hey, my dad's coming. You're not getting any labor out of me on your customer cars this week. Me and Dad working on the hot rod together. So,
and I'm not returning phone calls. And it's not a small block. It's not an LS.
Yeah, it's a big block. It's 505 cubic inches, and it has a carburetor on it. The story
Love it.
was Dad wanted to put an LS, and he's never had a turbo car. I've never actually built a turbo car. We built supercharged stuff and pro-charged stuff, and we were going to put an LS in it. My dad hates wiring, so he was actually down the summer that I was finishing the Royal Purple truck. And I told him to look underneath, and it's kind of it kind of scares you when you look at it. The Royal Purple LS, the Lingenfelder motor, it's all ran by the Holley system, and it's almost idiot-proof. When you get all the sensors in, it's not like you can get the wire hooked to the wrong sensor. Then you just basically plug all this stuff into the Holley unit. It's mostly pre-wired. So I told him, I said, look up underneath the dash, Dad. If we do an LS, you're going to come that week and help me wire that LS. And he looked underneath the dash and he just went, huh. Okay. So a couple weeks later, he's back in Illinois.
Oh,
no.
Now we lost him. Now we lost him. I was going to say I saw that
Hey,
car
there he
at
is.
SEMA, too.
There you are.
Oh,
Okay, he came back.
There
He
you
blanked out for a minute. But
Okay.
he looked up underneath, and then he sent me a picture of a big block sitting in the back of his pickup truck. He goes, this and a effing carburetor. I was like, well, I kind of wanted to build an old school hot rod anyway. So, yeah, it ended up being a 505 cubic inch with a carburetor on it. And Holley was happy to help get a carburetor on it. And I can't believe how many carburetors we still make. And I had a lot of questions like, why do you have a carburetor on this? People coming up and looking at SEMA, I go, because they work and they're awesome. And, I can still put a sniper system on it someday if I want to. It's not any higher because I built the whole hood around, the engine mock-up and everything. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, are you seeing him on screen? Because on my end, I don't see him.
Yeah, he's here on my screen. A little bit fuzzy, but he's still there.
Weird. Okay.
I can see both of you guys. Both of you guys went blank for a minute, and then you're back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to his screen. I just see his letters, but hopefully it'll be on the podcast. We do an audio podcast too, so I do post that also. I saw the car at SEMA. The one thing I want to say is, one thing you always mention is the stance of the car, and that's the first thing I noticed when I saw it. I just love how you work on the stance and how they sit, and that's one thing I noticed about your builds.
We kind of kept that car a little bit of a secret. Some of our supporters and sponsors and stuff knew about it, and I put a couple teaser pictures on, and so a lot of people that follow us were surprised to see the car done because in this day and age, everybody, I did this today, and they post it. And most of the projects we work on, we don't really post them until they're done at all. I don't know. We have one customer that he won't let us post anything. It's up to him if he posts stuff. So it's fully understandable. Not everybody's a social media person. And but yeah, that we've been posting the build-up pictures of that, and the chassis mods on that is ridiculous. Boxed the rails, built a bunch of tube cross members, Z'd the front, moved the suspension up, and it's a 2-inch narrowed fat man cross member. It's mini tub 5 inches aside in the back, and then the frame rails are kicked up 5 inches a piece in the back. And then I cut all the floor out, built the exhaust, and then channeled the car over the frame an inch, and then put the exhaust so it was above all the cross members, and then built the floor around all of that. So it's very deceiving. And like the one guy was in the Royal Purple booth at SEMA, and the one sales guy, he's like, oh, so you brought a pretty simple car this year. And I was like, well, it kind of looks that way. Then I started rattling about all the chassis and the motor pushed back 5 inches, and he's like, oh yeah, very deceiving. Yeah, it is.
It's super subtle, subtle. And the big block is not a crate, correct?
No, it was an old big block, and the reason it probably should have got a different block, but it ended up by the time we fixed everything, it's 505 cubic inches now. So, and all steel heads. Motor guys wanted to say, oh, you can get aluminum heads, and I wanted to keep it that kind of vintage hot rod look, so it wouldn't have had aluminum heads on it if you hot rodded that in the 60s. So I kept a lot of old school stuff. Dad always put Impala bucket seats, like 62 to 64 bucket seats. We put them in. My friend Mike Regula did the seats. It's got some vintage Cadillac cloth material we got from Ciadella, and even down to the point where we put the Impala speaker grill in the back seat. That's all custom made because of the floor pan work and the 4-bar and the mini tub. And then Dad, for some reason, always must have ran out of money or something. And back when he built cars, you didn't make your floor mats with your carpet and bind it with leather like you do now. He would probably just go to Kmart and he would get these clear plastic floor mats. So we found on Amazon these $19 clear plastic floor mats that we put in the car like Dad always did. Same thing with the big Hirsch shifter boot. We have that in there. There's a lot of stuff that Dad always put in every car that I made sure that I put in this. And, some people, they would come up to SEMA, same people messing with me about having a carburetor on it. And they're like, you can take those floor covers off now because you're at SEMA. That looks like something you just throw in while you're transporting the car or something. I was like, no. And then I got all excited and told the story about the clear plastic floor mats. So there's a reason those are in there.
I love that. So is your dad going to take possession of this car, or is it just his in name?
Eventually, Dad doesn't clean cars. He just does burnouts in cars anymore. It seems like 157 is basically his burnout car. So we're going to do some show car stuff. I'm announcing Spring, Texas, good guys, and I want to haul the car down. And I wanted him to come and sit by the car all weekend while I went and worked, but I don't think he can go that weekend. So we're going to do a few show car things with it. If I have it at Columbus, probably just in a vendor booth while I'm working, but just have it out. We don't really care about awards or nothing, so we'll have it out Nashville, good guys, and a couple stops on the Power Tour. Probably Street Rod Nationals will have it, and then maybe in the fall it'll maybe go back. So it's just going to be during burnout, so it'll get all chipped up and stuff once he gets it in his possession. We do have somebody that was trying to buy it from us, and it's like, well, I want Dad. I still haven't even had time to unload it. Here it is in January. It hasn't even got out of the trailer since SEMA because I'm too busy. I got I got to finish the trunk, and we got a couple photo shoots for magazines lined up. But
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you said you may bring it for a couple stops on the Power Tour. Is it going to be driven?
I don't know yet. It runs.
I'm not tacking. I'm just asking.
No, I would like to because the first two stops are really close, Memphis and Nashville. The Nashville stop's 40 minutes from my shop. And then I have to break loose because then I have to go announce a different racing company. I got to go to the UMI event out in Pennsylvania that weekend, so I won't be on the whole Power Tour. But I'd like to drive it, at least to the Nashville event. I have not drove it yet. It runs, and the wheels have moved back and forth on the jack stands, and then we put it in the trailer and took it to SEMA. So it's ready to start driving. I got to finish a change of brake line, and got to finish the trunk, and I got to finish the tailpipe extensions. It was SEMA done, but I've taken pushers and stuff, but it did run for SEMA. But yeah, I won't be on the whole tour this year though.
Now you say you don't care about trophies, but you did win something at SEMA for the car, right?
Yeah, the Hemmings Motor News picked it the editor's choice for best GM vehicle at SEMA. They liked, the old school hot rod and the story about me and my dad and everything. So that was pretty cool. So yeah. You kind of do that when you start your business. You chase awards so people notice you, and then you get this is my 28th year building hot rods, and for my cars, there is a couple other awards in the industry I wouldn't mind going after someday. We went after and fell a little short, but
which one?
Certain customer ones is up to them.
Did you try to compete in the Riddler at all, ever?
No, we've shown a car there. We've never debuted a car there. We've won Best Custom at Detroit before. I've never done a Riddler car, which I don't know if I really want to. It takes so much money. Yeah. I mean, I've known people that spent $3 million and go to Detroit and did not win, and they had $3 million in the car.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I would say let's build you a handful of $200,000 to $300,000 cars. You can have a drag car, a drag week car, an autocross car. You can have all these different cars for that same budget. I wouldn't mind building a car for America's Most Beautiful Roadster. I'm a custom lead sled guy at heart. I really like to take another really good car back to the Sacramento show for America's Most Beautiful Custom. We have won the 777, America's Top Custom from KKOA, and a whole bunch of other awards that we've got. That's just one that would be kind of cool to go after with a car. I've got a couple of cars for myself, one sitting out in the barn out there and one started in my shop that would be good. But for me, it's hard to finish a car to the level unless you've got the client behind it. I'm not going to spend the time to wet sand and buff the floor pan when it's my car. So.
Right.
Now, speaking of lead sleds, how about that Hero Hada Merc?
Yeah, that was really awesome. Usually lead sleds don't sell well at auctions. Of course, that's not the typical lead sled custom. That's, arguably there's a handful of other famous customs and stuff, but that one really set a trend back in the day. Sam Barris was still building cars with George. Custom guys know that Sam was the artist and George was the showman promotion guy. But they did it right. They did really well at Mecum. They promoted it. They took it places. They got Wayne Carini to help promote the car. That really adds. That's one of the car guys. know all these other people in the industry. I've never met him, and I really enjoy watching his show. I have trouble watching other car shows after doing automotive TV, but I really like what he does because he gets to come across stuff that I don't get to find a Duesenberg in a barn, stuff like that.
Or
But I think
Ferraris.
having him help being part of that and help promote it really helped get it in front of the right audience. They did a really good job. Meekum blew the doors off. I heard that there was, before they listed it, when the family decided to sell it, if you go to patganal.com, he's got a really good story on actually some of the behind the scenes on how long that car took. And the guy worked on it in his 2-stall garage. He bought it out of the back of a used car lot for $500 when customs weren't worth anything, and saved it and turned down money and fixed it.
He drove it to high school, didn't he?
I don't know if it was running when he was in high school or not.
Maybe not high school, but I thought he drove it to work or as a daily driver for a few years.
Yeah, he did drive it, dated his wife in it and stuff. But when it was first built, Bob Hirohata drove it from California all the way to Indianapolis for a custom show, and magazine followed him, kind of like the beginning of Power Tour, if you will.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I know that car was for sale privately before they decided to auction it for a little over $1 million. I knew somebody that their collection was trying to buy it, and they go, oh, we don't want to spend $1 million, $1.2 million or whatever they wanted for it. And so when you watch that auction, John DiAgostino was there also to help try to bid it for some people, and they dropped the reserve at $1 million. I really didn't think that would hit reserve, just because in the history of custom selling at auctions, they don't really go well because there's so much work involved in a custom, but it's always that guy's idea for the perfect custom. So it's not like, a Pro Tour Chevelle or Mustang appeals to a wider variety of people than, oh, this chop, this guy doesn't like the chop, or they made it a hard top, or the fadeaway fenders and all that stuff. So the customs, it's harder to find a big audience for that car.
Right.
But it sold for 1.9,
color.
2.1 with commissions.
Yeah. I read so many comments about the color on here. It's like it's a part of history, but if you don't like the color, you're not going to bid on it.
Yeah, and sometimes even on custom pages on Facebook, I was really let down with people that follow a custom page and didn't know the history of that car. I'm a car enthusiast first. I'm a hot rod historian. I listen to podcasts. I read magazine books, and sitting beside my couch is a stack of rod and customs from the 60s. I just love the history of everything. So I just immerse myself in it and learn as much as I can. So I'm huge into the history of all this stuff. And to be a custom guy, and even guys that own Mercs, I had no idea what the Hirohata Merc was. That half the body mods on your Mercury that this guy's posting about came because they did it on the Hirohata Merc. But to see that car go was really awesome. I hope people bitch and complain about the cost at some of these auctions, but clients and collectors and business people, they pay attention to that stuff of what's selling well. And if the numbers are up, they're really more apt to, okay, I'm going to hire the shop to build a car because the money is really up on these cars right now. Yeah, it does hurt the youth getting into the sport and the new blood and the cheaper cars, because now everybody thinks their rusty piece of crap 50 Mercury sitting out behind the barn is worth $50,000. Unless you go to these auctions, even not counting the history cars, like Barrett Jackson started last night and we had some on it. Some cars were selling really good. And normally the beginning of the week is either crappy cars or people that's never dealt there. And it's a business, because if people buy and sell a lot of cars, they'll treat them better. They'll quick hammer stuff. The auctions are weird because if you've ever ran one, if you look at the contract, they have the right for fake bidders, ghost bidders to run it up on you. You're basically in their own country once you cross in. Nothing seems right and fair. They can do whatever they want. So some of these numbers can be inflated because they know the guy's got money. I built a car for a guy that he caught them running him up. Big story I don't want to get into, but he owned 380 cars and he would buy a dozen cars at every big auction. He caught him running him up and he quit buying cars there and never went back because they will do that.
Right.
That's a shame. With the televised auctions, it's like, well, I saw a Nova go for $800,000, so my Nova's got to be worth at least $300,000. It's kind of like the Street Outlaws. Everybody think, well, your car can run 10s, right? No, 10 seconds, it's fast, man. Yeah. But now it's like everyone's got a 1,000 horsepower engine. You know what I mean? It's and
you can't see the quality on those auction on the TV unless you're standing beside that car. I mean, yeah, that I know a guy that sold a car for $300,000. It was probably the finest Tri-5 Chevy built in the world at that point in time. And everybody's like, well, that's stupid. He lost money on that car. It was built like Riddler quality, and yeah, it sold for $300,000, but he lost money on the car. And then you were talking about horsepower cars. I seen a guy post the other day. I thought it was funny that he's like, back in the day, it was like the big horsepower Trans Am was 14.5 second quarter mile they advertised, or the Trans Am, like the Smokey the Bandit car. Yeah. It was like a fast car for the day. He goes, I just bought my wife a minivan, and on the tech thing it says it runs 14.3 in the quarter mile. His minivan's faster than the Trans Am was. That's that's pretty cool that now we have. There was a time growing up that there wasn't any horsepower from the factory, and now you can buy some pretty awesome horsepower cars. Talking about horsepower.
Awesome horsepower with a warranty, a factory warranty. It's just,
I don't know if the warranty still, if you take it to the drag strip and the autocross, does that void the warranty? I don't really know about that.
I know with Ford it used to. I know with Chevy and with the Z28s and the Z06s, even if you went to the racetrack, you did not void the warranty. They would still honor it. But Ford, if you broke down at the track, they have a GPS unit or the black box in the car that the Fords wouldn't cover it. So I had fun with people at auto shows with that.
I remember when the new Camaro, I don't know if it was the track edition or whatever came out, the brand when they first came out.
Yeah, ZL1 1LE or the 1LE. Yeah.
I don't know if it was on 1LE or not. I don't know if they were doing the 1LEs yet. But anyway, that first generation of those big horsepower ones is guy. He now runs Trans Am series, but he's run the Ultimate Street Car a few times in Mitsubishi. Now he runs Trans Am 1-2 series at Ken Thwaites. And he had a big Camaro collection. So he bought one of the very first ones, and he was known for at that time to the brand new Camaro. He was the first one to wreck one. And he was on a road course and he wrecked it. I mean, not like totaled it, but OnStar, come on. Do you need help, sir?
I've seen that video. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
he lives up here in Nashville. Really cool dude. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, one thing I hate seeing is some of these old custom cars going overseas, and that's happened a lot over the last few years, at least.
Yeah, so it does suck, but at least somebody's saving it. Like I restored a historic 32 Roadster. It was voted 75 most significant deuces. This was for a guy that was buy the cars at the auctions, and we redid all the interior and redid the top. But some of this stuff was historical significant stuff on this car. This car was first hot rodded by a 19-year-old in 1941. There's a whole story, raced a racehorse with it and everything. And we had a bunch of this original stuff that was on the car, and the customer just wanted it replaced and as fresh as it could be. So I had like a truckload of all this stuff. Some collector bought it from New Zealand, and I made a pallet, and he bought all the original interior and some of the top bows and the tires and the gas tank and all kinds of stuff from this. And I mean, it's a big world we live in, and it's kind of cool. But I guess the Hirohata they're going to announce here soon because it's going to be on display at Detroit Autorama. I guess it did stay in the States, and it's going to be someplace where people are going to be able to see it that I read. So I assume a museum or a really good collection ended up with it.
Yeah, well, it blows my mind that the guy who bought your car didn't at least keep all that history to keep it with the car. Because if you want to turn it back to that way, you can if you wanted to, but now all the parts are gone. And
yeah, I mean, it looks exactly. I mean, we blew up pictures from the 40s and even some people gave me a hard time because the wiring was terrible in the car. But a 19-year-old would not wire a car like he was supposed to, and we had enough pictures. The wiring came out the wrong hole in the firewall and ran down and looked like crap. But that's what that picture was in 1941. We restored that car. And the guy that I did that car, he since passed away, and it's in a collection in the East Coast now. And I reached out to them, like, would you be interested in this stuff? And they kind of were rude and just expected me just to bring it to them or ship it to them on my costs. I'm like, okay, it's going someplace else because somebody offered me pretty good money for all the leftover parts off of this, and enough that they paid to ship it and paid me to pallet it and take it to a trucking depot, and off it went to New Zealand. So.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. They don't know that probably for the value of all those parts, how much it would probably raise the price of the car, too. Who knows?
Yeah, but, if the car's sitting in a museum, they can't store all these extra parts for all these cars, so I
That's
get
true.
that point too.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, how many you've built? I don't even know if you keep track of how many cars you've built. It's probably hard to keep track of something like that. But do you
I
even have
don't.
any idea?
I keep a running list of magazines and ads and stuff like that we've been in, and
Yeah.
counting, features and covers and magazines ads. We've been in over 350 magazines around the world. I was in my first
Wow.
one in 1993 or four. Um, Still bank a lot on being in magazines. That's when I started building cars. I didn't build a car to win a certain award. I wanted to be in a magazine, and I still
Hmm.
remember the day my '54 Pro Street car hit the cover, with like three other cars on Popular Hot Rodding. I'm still working at the Chevy dealership. The transmission guy got his mail at lunch and he brought it back to me. He goes, "This isn't your car, is it?" I was like, "Dude, it is." It was in Popular
Yeah.
Hot Rodding. 3 months later, the phone rang enough that I walked away from the dealership, and 28 years later, I'm still building hot rods. And I've had more people come to me and say, "Hey, I want to build this car and I want to be in Street Rodder or Rodder's Journal or whatever like that." And
Hmm.
there's two bad examples because those two magazines aren't really around, but there is magazines now that
Carcraft.
have replaced a lot of
Right.
those. I've had more people that have spent a lot of money to be in a magazine than they have to win as, hey, let's go after the Riddler or whatever. To me, the
Hmm.
magazines, I've always been a magazine collector. You can still go back and look at that car in the magazine and hold that print in your hand is cooler than, oh, my car's on the website. I still
Right.
like
Right.
print magazines.
A
Of
million
course,
percent cooler. Yeah.
yeah. Of course,
Yeah.
Motor Trend killed 19 titles a few years ago, but those core dudes that were involved in that. So basically, the guys that were running Street Rodder are now doing modern rodding. The guys that were running Super Chevy are now doing all Chevy performance. The guys that were running two of the classic truck magazines are doing the truck performance. So they're still there. They're subscription only because it's easier for these companies instead of printing all these magazines and put them on the newsstand, which has almost a 50% return. Then they're selling back issues like them and the Wheel Hub, Mustang Hub, Truck Hub guys. They're subscription only. And there's
Hmm.
still a
Interesting.
lot of quality magazines. Hemming's got a great magazine. Street Trucks is still out there. There's still a lot of print, but it's harder just to walk up to a newsstand, which, Good Guys used to be member only magazine, which I think this is awesome. I would walk in and out of a truck stop or a magazine stand, and Good Guys is now there because that's their way, and I agree with them, is getting new blood into it. Somebody walks in, some kid's like, "Oh, look, a car." Same thing as I remember the first time I bought my BMX magazine. I've been a BMX person for my whole life. You got to get that new blood, and I really think that's cool that Good Guys has done the effort to print more copies and get them on some newsstands and stuff.
I agree.
Now,
It's like it's still one of my goals is my car has been on a few websites, the Hot Rod website, but it's never been. It's still a goal to get in a Hot Rod magazine. So it's like
Yeah,
to me that's the be
right.
all end all.
that the hot rod, of all the cars we've had in magazine. I mean, when Custom Rodder magazine was in there, we went every issue that year. They used to do, so there's 6 issues a year for them every other month. We were in something, event coverage or a magazine article, or I wrote tech articles for them almost every issue for a couple years. I'd say over 300 magazines I've been in: Japan, Germany, Norway, Finland, Sweden, all this stuff. I've only been featured in Hot Rod once,
Oh
and it
wow.
was uh, 63 Riviera that me and my wife built. That car was in 6 magazines and 5 covers around the world the year that we built that car. And when they ran the Street Machine Nationals, I grew up going to Street Machine Nationals, DuQuoin, Illinois every year. That was it. You could take a car there and you'd have 6 photo shoots because everybody from around the world, all the photographers, Sweden guys, everything was there to shoot your cars. And
Right.
they quit for a while doing that show as a party scene and got kicked out of the state. And then they went back to Indianapolis for like their 20th anniversary. And we had the Riviera there, and it was the LS, and only 2 people made wiring harnesses, and nobody made oil pans. And I had to modify the cross member and do all this stuff. So it was a pain in the butt. And I built that car in 2000. It was done 01, 02. And it was really hard to do LS swap back then. Now you just get on your phone and order up whatever. But
That's
Now
it.
everyone's doing it.
it was full featured in Hot Rod, and me and my wife was standing there by it, and they wrote the article about punk rock and BMX, and so I still listen to punk rock every day, and hot rods and everything. And it was shot by Freiberger when he was still a magazine tech guy and photographer. So the story was written and the photos were shot by David Freiberger before he moved up to what he is now. So it's pretty cool.
Right.
Very cool. Yeah, Cotton is. I think he's gonna take me to DeCoin this year, or after the Power Tour, somewhere around there.
I think I'm going to see Cotton Saturday if he's not off filming. I got to go up to his part of the country to my nieces for a birthday party for the kids, and Cotton lives 15 minutes from my niece.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah, so we get off the interstate and we turn, and old Pro Street hero guy, a buddy, Rocky Robertson. I go by his shop, so I'm going to stop and see Rocky. I'll take Carrie and drop her off at the nieces for a while, and I'll go see my buddies and have lunch with Cotton and Rocky Robertson.
Very good. Now, Carrie still has the pink Corvair, correct?
It is purple, and she will punch you for calling it pink.
Well, she'll punch me anyways.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't do that.
She drives it. We drove it on Christmas Day or New Year's Day. We took it for a spin. So yeah, so it sits here in the garage.
Make it back up the driveway.
Say what?
It'll make it back up the drive. I thought you had a steep driveway with snow, and doesn't it slip?
Well, when it snows here in Tennessee, it doesn't last long. It's sunny out here now, but the driveway is really long. It's almost a half mile long, and it's really rough. I actually had an asphalt guy come and look at it the other day, and I got to sell a kidney, basically to re-asphalt the driveway, I think. But she posted a picture when we drove it, and it's her driving, and a picture over her shoulder, and in the rearview mirror is me walking because the driveway is so rough in a couple sections. You have to get that other person out of the car because the car will drag because it's low. And, she put something on there. This is what you get when you make fun of my driving, like she kicked me out of the car. So
I remember that post.
Yeah.
Well, very good. You're doing Des Moines. You're not official. He's a registered minister, by the way.
Well, it's an online thing. You don't have to call me Reverend Tim or nothing like that. But yeah, I officiate weddings. I first got officiated. One of our BMX girls got proposed to at a BMX track. They're, another BMX racer, and they wanted to get married at the Louisville BMX track, and they're not from Louisville, so they had trouble finding somebody that would marry them. And she joked and said, "Oh, if you could do it, I'd have you do it." So I how to do it and got ordained online, and Chad Reynolds is. Me and Chad says we should pitch a TV show called The Preachers of Power. That's what he wants to do. And so I did my first one at a BMX track. I've probably done, 7 or 8 weddings, and my buddy John and Erica from the TV studio, I married them, and I actually went all the way to Tucson one year, married Corbin and Nikki Sherraw, which Corbin has went to the Olympics twice for BMX, and there's probably 5 other Olympians there at the wedding, so that was kind of cool. So I'm actually officiating. Both of my nieces are getting married this year, and the one I'm officiating in June is the one I'm going to see this weekend, and the other one is getting married on Des Moines 4th of July weekend. So Jeff gets to announce Des Moines this year, which is my favorite Good Guys show of the season.
Wait, I thought we switched.
No, you're doing Des Moines. It's just the 2 nieces are you had them confused. I'm not officiating the one. I just need to be there. So yeah, you're doing Des Moines. I can't go this year.
Oh, okay.
Breaking news.
No, we switched that. You're doing Des Moines. I'm not.
Okay, because I think I'm going to leave the Power Tour. I'm going to try to hit some stops. The Wigwam Village in Kentucky, some national parks, head over to Cotton's, and then from Cotton's, I think we go to DeCoin, and then from DeCoin to Des Moines, and then Des Moines to Columbus. And then I'm not sure what's after Columbus. I got to look at my calendar, but it'll be lots of miles. Good fun.
Yeah.
Des Moines around 4th of July, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and I didn't know you're so close to Nashville, so I'll put you on the list to crash in and check out your shop.
Yeah. I'm not gonna have an open house, but yeah, you can sneak down. But as you go to Des Moines to Columbus that week, you go if you need anything. My dad's there in Illinois, so you pretty much go within 20 minutes from my dad's place.
Oh my! And I had no idea. I forget where I was coming back from last year, but getting back to Cotton's, my GPS takes me down this road, kind of a lane wide with these corn stalks up on either side, so you can't see anything. And it's like, oh, geez, I'm waiting for the children to start coming out of there and surround me. It was the creepiest thing ever. And I when I think Illinois, I think Chicago. And boy, it's...
And see, where I'm from, we never claimed Chicago as part of our state. Chicago is its own separate world. We only went up there for concerts and stuff. And, I grew up in cornfield country. My shop in Illinois was 18 miles from a town big enough to have a stoplight. My school that I went to was grades 7 through 12. So junior high and high school had 170 kids in the whole school. That's Illinois to me. Not Chicago is not Illinois.
Well, in Chicago, I made my stupid GPS takes me to this gas station. I roll up there. 5 minutes later, a police car rolls up. What are you doing here? Getting gas. You need to go back the other way. It's like, seriously? It was. That's
the type of Chicago we always go to, because when you go to punk rock shows, they're not in the good neighborhoods. Exactly. So we go to the bad neighborhoods, go see punk rock shows, and then go back home.
It always amazes me. One thing I want to say, it always amazes me. A lot of car builders were BMX bikers, and me and Jeff have probably talked about that before. But Chip
so Boost
funny.
Race, a lot of the magazine guys, especially Southern California guys.
I know he's got a big collection
of
bikes.
Yeah, Bodie Stroud, I think, was a BMXer. I know there's so many.
Yeah.
Brad Fanshawe. All those guys race BMX. Yeah, it's so crazy. But
Brad not only raced, but was involved in the organizations and running and putting on events and freestyle, and he was the editor of BMX magazine for a while. And
right.
A lot of guys.
Anyone on tour with Van Halen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool story.
Well, check him out. Tim Strange on Facebook. Again, I think, Tim Strange Rod Builder on Instagram and strangemotion.com. But again, he's not going to build you a free car.
No.
That's true. I'm going to send you some pictures from SEMA of your car. Actually, I'll send you some of during Ignited, and then the ones I took at SEMA. So I'll send those to you on your email.
You didn't see my car at Ignited. I never go to Ignited.
I'll have to look at that. See if it's someone else's.
I'm one of them old school guys from SEMA that's been going for over 20 years. SEMA's a trade show. It's not a car show. I've been in Vegas since the Friday or Saturday before SEMA. When the SEMA show ends on Friday, my stuff goes in their trailer. I go get something to eat. I have never even been to Ignited.
I'll have to look at that. I'll have to look at that then and compare.
This is the guy that gets invited to all the cool after parties that no one else is invited to except for the cool kids. You and I aren't on the list, Mike. I'm never on any list. Tim gets all the badges and the passes and.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I get to host the Armo, the restoration side of SEMA. I do their banquet and award ceremony. The hot rod industry, the HRI hosted that for the last 2 years, and they hand me like a 37-page script and a teleprompter to do that banquet.
Oh, geez.
And I go back and I tell the teleprompter lady, I was like, I'm not really going to go off the script. There's some things I got to make sure when they reward people, but otherwise I'm just winging it. And she's like, okay. So, we get to do a lot of stuff. And, we've been going to SEMA for so many times that we're not party people. Me and my wife don't actually drink. And she's upset if we're not back to the room by 10 o'clock in the morning, because every day last year, because they ran that event, her alarm went off at 5:30 in the morning every day when we were at the SEMA show. So it is work for us to go to SEMA. It's not you get to go to Vegas for that.
They may not drink and they may not party, but during Halloween they do not play games.
Yeah, that's our friend's house, the Silvas. They go all out like the Griswolds, and I do a good Buddy the Elf, and this year Carrie dressed up as the Grinch. So yeah.
You and your yellow tights, some things you can't unsee. It's
boy.
Yeah. Well, give the spiky-haired lady a hug for me. Tell Harry hi when you see him in Texas, and I'll see you in Columbus, my friend, if I don't see you sooner.
I'll actually see you on the power tour before that.
Oh, yeah, I'll see you on the power tour. That's right.
Oh, geez.
Excellent.
Don't forget about that. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun. Had a good time.
Tim Strange, ladies and gentlemen. Strange Motion and Rod Builder. Check them out.
Yep. Check them out.
See ya.